If you're thinking about moving to Portland, Oregon, you've probably spent a lot of time on Portland maps, and you're probably trying to figure out how this city actually fits together. Here's the thing, Portland looks simple on a map, of course, but there's a lot going on underneath the surface. The neighborhoods and towns can be pretty different from each other, so if you're looking to relocate here, you can really save a lot of time and learn a lot by just watching this brief video. I'm Andy Harris with Foris Real Estate, brokered by eXp Realty. I've been working in the Portland real estate market for over 11 years now. In this video, I'm going to pull up the map and walk you through the whole city the way I would with a client who's relocating here for the first time. We're going to cover the size and layout of the city, the areas of the towns and suburbs, the restaurant scene, hospitals and healthcare, some local favorites and hidden gems, schools, areas where you might want to visit if you move here, and so much more. So let's get into it. Before we dive in, if you're actively planning on making a move here to Portland, you should check out the relocation guide that I have created for folks like yourself. Moving to a new city is more than just a real estate transaction. It's a major life transition that requires both a high-level strategy and deep local perspective. Whether you're relocating for a career or right-sizing your lifestyle or finding the perfect neighborhood for you and or your family, this guide is a definitive resource for navigating the Portland Metro with confidence. Click on the link in the description below for your free copy. Now let's take a look at the map. Okay, so this is maybe a little silly, but I'm just going to start on this Portland tour with the state of Oregon, just so you can see exactly where Portland is in case you don't know. So here we are in the northwest section of Oregon and really right at the dividing line with Washington. So Portland itself is about 650,000 people, and the greater metro area is about 2.5 million people. So for the sake of this video, I'm going to basically run it from, say like the metro area that I consider the Portland area would be like about Forest Grove, out to about Sandy, Canby, down here, maybe as far as Malala, and up into Washington with Vancouver and Camas, and Washougal is here, and Ridgefield. So this is basically going to be what I'm talking about today in terms of the greater Portland area. So let's start with just a super high level overview. Portland itself has 6 quadrants. So it's kind of funny, they call it quadrants, but there's 6 of them. So basically you have, well, let's talk about the dividing line here. So this is the Willamette River, and this divides east and west. So, and then north-south is divided by Burnside Street. So this runs across here and across here. So this, northeast, southeast, southwest, northwest, and then we have, this area up here is considered North Portland. And then we have this small area down here, which is South Portland. So it's not a very big swath of land. It's definitely the smallest, and it's the newest as well. Came into play not too long ago, within the last maybe 5 to 8 years. Okay, so that's Portland itself. That's how it's divided up. And then you have all the suburbs. So you have the west side suburbs over here. So you have West Lynn, Lake Oswego, Tualatin, Tigard, Sherwood, Wilsonville, Beaverton, Aloha, Hillsborough, North Plains, and Forest Grove in general. And then on the east side, you have Oregon City, Happy Valley, Gresham, Troutdale, Fairview, Sandy, Boring is in here, Damascus, Beaver Creek a little bit outside of Oregon City, Estacada. So that would be what I would consider the east side of Portland suburbs and the west side of the suburbs. So that's it in a nutshell in terms of like super high level Portland and how it is broken out. Let's get into the transportation a little bit and just kind of the areas, things that you should know on that end. First of all, the airport. This is the airport up here. So if you want to be have a close proximity to the airport, you're probably going to want to live on the east side if you do a ton of traveling. This vicinity would be where you would want to live in terms of proximity to the airport. If you move up into the Vancouver area, that could be good, but you are going to have to cross the bridges, which can get pretty, those can be kind of bottlenecks. So, just something to keep in mind. The other thing, let's talk about the highways. The main arteries here in Portland are, here you have I-205, you have I-5 that comes up and then it actually branches out, comes up around here, and then there's I-405 that just very small little area here. Highway 26, 217 here. These are some of the main areas for you to know in terms of like the main transportation corridors. The areas of probably the worst traffic can be, like I said, the bridges up here. Coming into Portland from I-5 can be pretty rough. It gets down to like 2 lanes or 3 lanes there. So that can get a little rough around here if you're coming into the city at the wrong time. I-205, I'm originally from Chicago, so let's just say that I know bad traffic. Portland doesn't have great traffic, but it's all relative, and it's not as bad as some of the worst cities that you think of, at least in my opinion. I-26 can get a little rough, and 217 can get bad. This is a little smaller road, but this 99 can get pretty rough out here too at rush hour. So then let's look a little bit at, actually, we have a TriMet system here that I want to, this is our public transportation. I thought I'd take us outside of the Google Maps here and just give you an idea. We actually have a pretty good public trans system, I think, considering the size of the city. Again, it doesn't match Chicago or New York or anything like that, but so this is a rail line. Big colors here are the rail lines. You can see it goes from the airport, and this is the yellow line. So it's a pretty decent train system. We also have streetcars down in this area, in the more urban core area. So those are kind of cool. And then there's all sorts of bus lines. But you can get an idea, depending on your needs and your situation and how much you need public transportation, or want public transportation, or want to try to live without a car. Like, let's say you work downtown, you could live on the east side, and live by some of these train lines and really just do biking, walking, and TriMet. Just wanted to share some of that with you. We also have some really good biking corridors. I think Portland, I was just reading an article today, Portland's one of the best biking cities in the country, this article said. One thing to know, we have something called the Springwater Corridor that runs about 40 miles out, and then we have this East Side Esplanade that runs up here, and so there's all these bike lanes that are dedicated just to biking here in Portland, or mainly for biking. So it's a pretty great system overall for being a West Coast city, I think, for the public trans and biking situation. So now let's get a little bit into just kind of fitness and outdoor opportunities. For gyms, there's too many gyms here on the map for me to show you, but there's a lot of big ones like 24 Hour Fitness and LA Fitness and Planet Fitness. So they all have several locations. Then there's also a lot of the yoga studios and CrossFit locations and climbing and bouldering, and so there's all sorts of opportunities on that end. But really, the thing that's so great about Portland, I would say, is its outdoor activities. There's all sorts of stuff that we can do here, and this I'll get into with you a little bit on the map. The first thing you should know about is Forest Park. There's this huge park here with 80 miles of trails. I mean, you can go walking for days, it seems like, out here in Forest Park. So it's one of the biggest urban parks in the country. So that's a highlight. Mount Tabor Park is a great inner east side park to go walking at. Powell Butte has incredible trails, and then it comes up onto like a prairie area, so you get incredible views of Mount Hood and Mount Adams and Mount St. Helens. So this is a great area. And then one of the things that really sold me on Portland is this is the Columbia River Gorge, and it is just incredibly beautiful with huge waterfalls and hiking trails, and it's just like 30 minutes from downtown, so it's right there. Other opportunities that are available, we have Mount Hood out here and Mount St. Helens up there. If you're on the west side, it's only about an hour and a half to the coast, so you go surfing and hiking out here. So it's just basically any direction you go to, it's an incredible opportunities to get outside and to do whatever you like. If you like to mountain bike, hike, we have a ton of things you can do. Go surfing, and then actually over here, Hood River, this is a really cool town, and it's really well known for its kite surfing. So it's just all sorts of great things to do on that end as well. Okay, for grocery stores, there's all sorts of options here. I'll just talk about some of the big ones that are here in town. We have Safeway and Fred Meyer. Those are kind of the medium, lower end in terms of pricing. New Seasons Market is really popular here, but it's pretty spendy, but it's a good option for some people. And then there's Whole Foods. So there's all sorts of different grocery store options in town, depending on what you like. Also, of course, here there's Trader Joe's in town too. Another thing that I want to talk about is there's actually a lot of farmers markets here in town. So one that's really well known is this Portland Farmers Market at Portland State University. This is a weekly market on Saturdays, runs all year round, and it reminds me of like a European farmers market. It's fantastic. There's all sorts of other farmers markets around town, so you just have to find out what area you live in or you end up relocating to, and I bet that there's a farmers market in the area. Okay, let's get into hospitals and healthcare a little bit. There's a lot of good options in Portland. Basically, we have OHSU is a really well-known one. It's a education-based hospital, or research and education-based hospital here on the inner southwest area, and it's also down here on the south waterfront. There's a lot of, there's some, Legacy has a couple hospitals here and here. Providence has a hospital here on the east side, and then over here on the west side, and Kaiser Permanente has hospitals here. So really the main point of this that I wanted to point out is no matter where you live, you're probably going to be within about 15 or 20 minutes from a good hospital. There's also a huge amount of, let's just call it, alternative healthcare options in town. Lots of chiropractic and acupuncturists and people like that. Okay, let's now talk about the restaurant and food scene in Portland. It is known as a culinary destination. It has won plenty of awards, and I think on a per capita basis, it really deserves all the accolades that it gets. Let's talk a little bit about the areas. This is the Pearl District in downtown Portland, and the Northwest 23rd area is up here. That's where the most density of the city is, and of course with that comes a lot of the great restaurants. So this, if you're going, looking for like a really nice restaurant, or just all sorts of different options, this is going to be probably your densest area in terms of restaurants. Another area, so I didn't get into this too much, but the Inner East Side is really where the most walkable area that's not the downtown core. So with that comes all sorts of different restaurant areas, restaurant heavy areas. And so I'll just walk you through some of the areas that I'm talking about. So, Selwood, Westmoreland, there's all sorts of different retail areas in this area. You have Woodstock here, Foster Powell down here, Montevilla has some areas here, Hawthorne, Division runs around here. There's a bunch of restaurants there it's known for. Stark and Belmont and Laurelhurst has spots up here. This is just, as you can see, it's just, sorry about that. It's just really littered with restaurant areas and a lot of cool little retail areas. You have Hollywood here, Beaumont Wilshire, Alberta Arts District, Mississippi Avenue. And then you even get into this North Portland area where you have St. John's up here and Kenton around here. So this, if you're looking for restaurants and you're not in the urban core, or if you're looking to move to kind of where it's a little bit more happening, so to speak, you're probably going to be looking at the Inner East Side. Then you have the west side of Portland has some spots too, of course. Probably the biggest area of concentration, which is kind of similar to this Inner East Side area, would be Multnomah Village, which is located right here. Hillsdale has a little bit, and then the rest of it's kind of just spotty throughout. You have some restaurants here and there, more mall style setup places where these are kind of on the east side a little bit more like town centers. One more thing to note about Portland's eating scene and food scene is food carts are a staple here. You'll find them all over the place, and they're generally quite good. You get sometimes you'll just get this one-off cart, in a gas station parking lot, or sometimes you'll have a bunch of little food pods, modern new food pods with 20 pods in it. So it's a pretty cool thing, and it really provides a bunch of options all over town. Okay, I'm going to get into some local favorites and a couple of hidden gems here. Let's start up in North Portland. Let's look at this Cathedral Park here. So St. John's Bridge is this beautiful bridge. It looks a little bit like the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco. So it's this beautiful bridge, and it's right underneath it, so you can get some incredible photo opportunities. I mean, you're right on the river here, so I would definitely check that out if you're coming to town. Let's see here. Another one that I would recommend is the Portland Art Museum, which is right here downtown. It's a really great art museum. You know, it's not like the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York or the Louvre or anything like that, but it is really genuinely a great art museum. So if you like art, I would definitely check out this one. Okay, now that we're in the area of the Portland Art Museum, let's check out, of course, Powell's City of Books. I think most people know about it, but it's a city block wide and a city block long. And of course, with that comes an enormous amount of books. And so if you're looking for a book, they probably have it. Okay, we're still in this general vicinity here of like downtown. I would say another thing worth checking out is this International Rose Test Garden. If you like looking at flowers and seeing, I don't know, maybe hundreds of varieties of roses, if you come at the right time of year, I would definitely check this out. A bonus is this does overlook downtown Portland, so you can get some great views down here of the city. And it also looks out over Mount Hood, so it's got some pretty spectacular views. Okay, let's get into a few more spots before we move on. Let's check out the Grotto up here. So this is a really cool area. It's actually a Catholic-owned piece of property with, I think, about 60 acres or so, but it abuts a big cliff. It's got this shrine here in it, and then, but it has trails, and you know, it's just a really peaceful, beautiful place to go check out. And in the winter, over the holiday season, they have it loaded with Christmas lights. They do choirs, they do puppet shows and hot chocolate and all that. So it's a very popular spot during the holidays. Okay, then we have Sauvie Island. This is a place that is just incredible. Again, it's like 20 minutes from town. It's just one of these things about Portland. It's just so many cool things to go check out. So this has a lot of, it's very flat. It actually reminds me of the Midwest. It has a lot of farmland, and it's got you can see all this water here. So it gets a lot of bird life and waterfowl. So it's really cool to go check out. I mean, bald eagles and ospreys and all sorts of different cool birds, sandhill cranes. And then it's got some beaches up here, so you can go, a lot of people go out here in the summer and go swimming, you know, stand-up paddleboarding and things like that. And then there's a really great hike up here, and you know, there's a few other areas for hikes, but you go up here for hiking, and then you can go in the to these farms and do farm-to-table dinners, and you can go pumpkin patching and go to pumpkin patches, and you pick berries and stuff like that. So it's a really cool area. Okay, I'm going to end this with one business that I think is really cool and worth knowing about, and it's called Knot Springs, and it's right around here. I don't have it picked out exactly, but it's called Knot Spring, K-N-O-T Springs, and it's a spa. So it's got a hot tub and tepid pool and cold plunge and a sauna and a steam room and an outdoor area to catch some rays, and it's got a view of the city. As you can see here, you look right across the river and out over the river. So if you're here and you want to take a break while you're here, that is a place that I think is a pretty awesome hidden gem. Okay, while I'm at it, I think this is a selling point for Portland, so I'm just going to talk about it here. This isn't about Portland itself, but I do want to talk about day trips that you can take, or just quick, you know, within maybe 2 or 3 hour drives of places to go visit. So the first place I already talked about a little bit is the Gorge. It's just absolutely incredible. It's, you know, just so beautiful. Look it up if you haven't seen it before. But heading out in that direction would be Hood River. It's a cute little town. It's got some farmland here behind it. It's got a bunch of, they grow a bunch of fruit in the region. You're also not far from Mount Adams up there from Hood River, so you can do a lot of hiking into there. But then you can also come down and into Mount Hood. So you're right in between two of the Great Cascade Mountains. So Hood River is an awesome spot. Of course, you do have Mount St. Helens up here. so much history there, and hiking and stuff up there. And then, of course, just a couple hours to the west is the Oregon coast. If you haven't been there, I highly, highly recommend it. It's one of the most beautiful areas of the West Coast, in my opinion. So you got to check that out. And then really just depending on where you live in Portland, you'd be in this wine country. This is the wine country for the famous Oregon Pinot Noir. So it's right in here, and it's like an hour away, and it's got this rolling hills and incredible wines. You should check that out for sure. And then, of course, this is a little bit further, but down here you have Bend and Sisters and just incredible country. So I would definitely recommend doing that. Of course, there's so much more in Oregon and Washington, and I think, again, it's why a lot of people move here. I know it's one of the main reasons that I moved here was that Portland was such a great city, but had so much around it that was just go in any direction and you're in a beautiful area. So I just wanted to point that out to give you a little bit of perspective of how Portland is right in the middle of so much natural beauty. Okay, so let's end with schools. Again, I got out of the Google Map territory and just wanted to pull up a fairly recent Portland public school map. Obviously, there's way too much going on here for me to give you any sort of brief information. I think the main thing to know is it's a city, and the quality of the schools, or the ratings of the schools, are a little all over the place. Some on the lower end, some on the high end. So it really kind of depends on what you're looking for and what you value. I find in my experience working with clients is everyone really values different stuff. So if you ever want to talk about what you're looking for in terms of a location, and then also what you're looking for in a school, I'd be happy to talk to you about it the best I can. You have on the west side is generally known for higher rated schools. Of course, it's just generalization. And then the east side definitely has its fair share of good schools too. And then you go into Vancouver and Washington up here, and it's got some schools that kind of range up and down as well. So really the main thing would be to pick out what you're looking for in an area, and then we can really dive in together about what sort of school districts might work for you. Okay, so that's the Portland map tour. I hope you found it helpful and informative. We could spend an hour on pretty much any of these sections, so if there's anything else that you'd like to dive in deeper with, just reach out to me. I'd be happy to help. If you're relocating here, the most common question I get is, given my lifestyle and budget, where should I actually be looking to move? That's a conversation I genuinely enjoy having. I'd love to talk through it with you. No obligation, no rush, or any pressure, just local knowledge applied to your specific situation. So book a meeting with me via the link below or comment in the comments section, and I'll be sure to respond soon. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.